My mom claimed she could spare only $1,000 for my wedding because her divorce left her broke. Then I discovered she dropped $15,000 on my stepsister's luxury cruise proposal. I didn't argue. I just removed one name from my wedding guest list. Mom said she could only give me $1,000 for my wedding because she was broke from her divorce. But then I found out she helped pay $15,000 for my stepsister's luxury cruise proposal, so I uninvited her for my wedding. I've been engaged to my fiancé Mark for about 8 months now, and we're planning our wedding for next spring. It's been an exciting time, but also kind of overwhelming, especially with family dynamics, budget, stress, and the million little details that come with planning a wedding. I always imagined this part of my life would be nothing but fun and happiness, but honestly, there have been a few bumps in the road. A little background on my family. I was 19 when my parents got divorced, and let me tell you, it was an absolute disaster. My dad had been cheating on my mom with his secretary. Yes, straight out of a bad soap opera, and my mom only found out because she noticed weird charges on their credit card, hotel bookings, fancy dinners, and random expensive gifts. It was heartbreaking to see my mom go through that. The divorce dragged on for almost 2 years because my dad was trying to hide assets, and my mom had to fight tooth and nail just to get what she was owed. It was exhausting for everyone, but especially for her. Eventually, my mom started rebuilding her life. About a year after the divorce was finalized, she met Jim. He was kind and patient, the complete opposite of my dad, and it made me really happy to see her with someone who actually treated her well. Jim has a daughter, Sophia, who's 24, and ever since my mom and Jim got married last year, she's been trying hard to build a strong relationship with her. I can tell it means a lot to my mom to have a close bond with her new stepdaughter, and I totally get it after everything she's been through. She just wants a happy, stable family again. When Mark and I got engaged, we jumped right into wedding planning. We didn't want anything over the top, but we still wanted it to be special. We found this gorgeous historic venue about an hour outside the city, which felt perfect because it's actually where we had our first date. The only downside, the total cost was around $35,000. Not exactly cheap. We'd been saving up and both of our families had offered to help out, so we figured we could make it work. Then came the tough conversation with my mom. I asked if she'd be able to contribute anything, and that's when things got emotional. She broke down in tears and told me she was still trying to recover financially from the divorce between legal fees and trying to rebuild her savings and focusing on her retirement fund. She just didn't have a lot to spare. She apologized over and over, saying that she wished she could do more, but all she could afford was about $1,000. It was hard to see her so upset, and while I was a little disappointed at first, I completely understood divorce is brutal, and I would never want my mom to put herself in a tough spot just to help us out. Mark and I talked it over, and we decided to adjust our plans. We found a smaller venue, cut down our guest list a bit, and started getting creative with DIY decorations to save money. Honestly, in a way it brought us even closer. There's something kind of special about putting together centerpieces and designing invitations with your partner. Thankfully, Mark's parents were incredibly generous and offered to cover about 40% of the new wedding cost, which took a huge weight off our shoulders. It's funny how things work out, even though we had to scale back. I think our wedding is going to feel even more meaningful because of all the love and effort we're putting into it. And at the end of the day, it's not about how much money we spend, but about celebrating with the people who matter most. But then last night happened, and honestly, I still can't wrap my head around it. I was casually scrolling through Instagram before bed, just trying to unwind. When I saw a post from Sophia, it wasn't just any post. It was an entire slideshow of professional photos from her engagement, and not just any engagement. This was straight out of a fairy tale on a luxury cruise. Her caption read, "Still in shock. Thank you to the most amazing bonus mom for making this dream proposal possible. The cruise, the private dinner, the photographer, everything was perfect. I can't believe you helped Kevin plan all of this. You are truly the best, and I'm so blessed to have you in my life." My heart literally dropped. The cruise line she tagged is famous for being ridiculously expensive, and just from the photos alone I knew this had to cost at least $15,000 if not more. There were pictures of them having a candlelit dinner on a private deck, sipping champagne on their own balcony, and even a full-on professional engagement shoot with rose petals everywhere. Oh, and a private string quartet playing in the background. Like seriously, I just sat there staring at my phone, feeling like I had been sucker punched. My mom, the same woman who told me she was financially drained and could only contribute $1,000 to my wedding, somehow found the money to help pay for this over-the-top engagement for her stepdaughter, a stepdaughter she's only known for 3 years. Meanwhile, her own daughter had to downsize her wedding and DIY half the decorations. I barely slept that night. I just kept replaying the conversation I had with my mom when she told me she couldn't help. The way she cried and apologized, making it seem like she was barely scraping by. And now this. I felt betrayed, hurt, and honestly like I wasn't even a priority in her life anymore. By morning I was still fuming. so I called her. I didn't hold back. I told her exactly how I felt. I told her it was crystal clear that she had chosen her new family over me. And if that's how she felt, then maybe she shouldn't even bother coming to my budget wedding. She started crying again, saying I didn't understand the full situation, that she was just trying to bond with Sophia and that Jim had helped with the cost, but I was too angry to care. Now my phone won't stop buzzing. My mom keeps calling and texting, begging me to talk to her. Even Jim reached out telling me I was being cruel. My dad, who found out from my brother, says I'm absolutely justified in being angry, and he's not surprised. My mom would do something like this. Mark thinks I might have been a little harsh, but he understands why I'm hurt my brother. He's just staying out of it altogether. I don't even know where to go from here. Should I try to fix things before the wedding? Should I even let her come, or should I stand my ground? Right now, all I feel is replaced, like I don't matter to my own mother anymore. And the worst part, I don't think she even realizes just how much she's hurt me. Update 1. Hey everyone. So I decided to take everyone's advice and actually sit down with my mom to hear her side of things. We met up at a coffee shop yesterday. Well, it's complicated. Before I get into that, I also wanted to address a few questions and comments from my first post. First of all, I don't feel guilty for wanting the wedding of my dreams. If my fiancé and I hadn't been able to afford it, we would have adjusted accordingly. Just like we did when my mom said she couldn't contribute much. But finding out through social media that she had helped Sophia with an extravagant engagement setup after telling me she was financially struggling made me feel blindsided and betrayed. If she had just been upfront with me, it wouldn't have hurt nearly as much. Anyway, when we met, my mom explained that Jim had actually paid for about 80% of the cruise proposal, and she had only covered a small portion. She said she didn't tell me that right away, because she didn't want to make it seem like she was dismissing my feelings or throwing numbers around to justify things. She also admitted that she should have communicated better and understood why I felt hurt. Then she told me something I had no idea about. Apparently, Sophia had been struggling with severe anxiety and depression, especially since her mom passed away 5 years ago. My mom said she's been trying really hard to be there for Sophia, to help her feel supported and loved. The whole engagement surprise was a way for her to show Sophia that she truly cared and wanted to be part of her life. She even told me she's been going to family therapy with Sophia for the past year to try and build trust and help her heal. Hearing all of this left me feeling conflicted. I still felt hurt, but now I also felt guilty for not knowing what Sophia had been going through. At the same time, it didn't change the fact that I felt pushed aside. My mom even offered to show me her bank statements to prove she wasn't lying about her financial situation, but I told her that wasn't necessary. Then she went as far as offering to take out a loan to help with my wedding, which I immediately shut down. I don't want her going into debt over this, but our conversation didn't stop there. I told her this wasn't just about money. It was about how I felt like she was always putting Sophia first, like she was bending over backwards to make her feel special while barely acknowledging me. I brought up specific examples. How she forgot my birthday last year. How she barely acknowledged my promotion at work when I had worked so hard for it, and how she constantly celebrated Sophia with grand gestures, but didn't seem to have the same enthusiasm when it came to me. She listened, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like she really heard me. She apologized, genuinely apologized, and said she never meant to make me feel that way. She told me she's been so focused on making Sophia feel secure in her new family that she didn't realize she was unintentionally making me feel left out. She said she wanted to do better and asked what she could do to fix things between us. At first, she got defensive, insisting that I was wrong and that she loved me just as much as she loved Sophia. But when I started listing specific examples, things she had done for Sophia that she never did for me, she just sat there silent, and honestly, that silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. It was like she suddenly realized how much she had neglected me, and she had no way to justify it. The more I thought about it, the more it didn't sit right with me. Over the past year, I had noticed my mom constantly going out of her way to impress Sophia. She knew all the little details, her favorite coffee order, the exact shade of lipstick she liked, the places she dreamed of traveling to. But when it came to me, she forgot my birthday last year, and only realized when I sent her a passive-aggressive thanks for the birthday wishes text. Later that night, she called me sobbing, saying she was just so overwhelmed with everything going on, but honestly, the damage was already done. How do you forget your own daughter's birthday? And it's not just the little things. My mom never misses any of Sophia's big moments. She's always there, front and center for every milestone. Her graduation, birthdays, job promotions. She throws parties, buys thoughtful gifts, and makes big gestures. But when it comes to my milestones, it's a completely different story. When I graduated college, she showed up late and left early. When I got my first big promotion at work, she barely even acknowledged it. But when Sophia landed her first job, my mom threw her a huge celebration with decorations, catered food, and a toast about how proud she was. I finally told her all of this. I laid it all out, and for the first time I saw a shift in her expression. Then she admitted something I wasn't expecting at all. She told me she's been terrified of losing Jim. That after her divorce from my dad, she felt so broken and alone that when she met Jim, she clung onto his family like they were her only shot at happiness. She felt like if she didn't give her all to Sophia, she might never truly belong in Jim's world. That if she wasn't the perfect stepmother, Jim might start resenting her. I didn't know how to react to that. Part of me understood. Divorce is devastating and she went through absolute hell with my dad, but another part of me was just so angry. Just because she was afraid of losing Jim didn't mean that she had to push me aside. Just because she wanted Sophia to love her didn't mean she had to make me feel like I wasn't enough. I told her exactly that. I told her that just because she's trying to make up for lost time with Sophia doesn't mean she gets to treat me like I come second, that it's not fair for me to always be the afterthought. She started crying again, telling me she never meant to hurt me. She said she always saw me as strong and independent as someone who didn't need her as much, that she assumed I was fine because I never asked for extra attention or support. And honestly, that part really hit me because I realized that's how it's always been. She's always seen me as the strong one, the one who doesn't need reassurance, the one who doesn't need extra care. But just because I don't break down in front of her doesn't mean I don't feel pain. Just because I don't ask for attention doesn't mean I don't want it. We ended the conversation on a tense, but somewhat hopeful note. She asked if she could still come to my wedding, and I told her I needed time to think about it. She promised she would try to do better, but I don't know if I believe her yet. I left the coffee shop feeling completely drained. Part of me wants to just forgive her and move on to pretend everything is okay and go back to how things were. But another part of me is still hurt, so angry. I don't know what to do next. I don't know if our relationship will ever truly feel the same again. Update 2. Hi. Things have taken a completely unexpected turn. Sophia actually reached out to me directly, which has never happened before. I was surprised when I saw her name pop up in my inbox. At first I hesitated to open the email, not knowing what to expect. But curiosity got the best of me, and when I finally read it, I was completely floored. Sophia wrote me this long, heartfelt message explaining her side of things and including something that completely changed my perspective. Screenshots of her conversations with my mom from months ago. I wasn't sure what to think at first, but as I scrolled through the messages, I felt my stomach drop. What I saw in those messages caught me completely off guard. It turns out my mom had actually been trying to talk Sophia out of having such an over-the-top proposal. Apparently, Kevin, Sophia's fiancé, had approached my mom and Jim about helping with the proposal, and while Jim was immediately on board, my mom had suggested something smaller and more intimate in the screenshots. I could see my mom expressing concern about the cost and suggesting alternative ideas like a beautiful backyard dinner or a small getaway instead of a luxury cruise. But Jim was really set on making it happen for his daughter. He kept insisting that Sophia had been through a lot and deserved something extravagant. Eventually, my mom agreed to contribute what she could, $3,000, which is still more than she offered for my wedding, but nowhere near the $15,000 plus. I had originally assumed Jim covered the rest because he wanted to go all out for Sophia, and my mom didn't want to create tension in their new marriage by refusing to be involved. Reading those messages made me realize that I had completely misunderstood the situation. My mom hadn't been favoring Sophia over me out of neglect or preference. She had been stuck in a tough spot trying to keep peace in her new marriage, while still looking out for me in her own way. She hadn't outright told me about all of this, probably because she knew how upset I was and she didn't want to make excuses. But seeing the proof in black and white made me feel terrible. I had jumped to conclusions without knowing the full picture, and I might have seriously hurt my relationship with my mom because of it. Sophia's email itself was actually really sweet. She apologized for not being more mindful with her social media posts, admitting that she didn't consider how it might come across to me. She also went out of her way to say she never wanted to make me feel like I was being replaced, and even offered to help with my wedding planning and DIY projects to make up for it. I was completely caught off guard by that. I had always thought of Sophia as distant, maybe even a little self-absorbed, but this email made me see her in a different light. She wasn't trying to rub anything in my face. She was just excited and had no idea how it would affect me. I sat with the email for hours, rereading the messages between her and my mom, and I started to see things in a completely different light. I still feel hurt that my mom didn't put the same effort into my wedding, and that's something I'll need time to work through. But now I understand that she was in a really difficult position trying to keep peace in her new marriage, balance her loyalty to me, and navigate a blended family where she felt a lot of pressure. In doing so, she ended up hurting me without meaning to. And I can see now that she never intended to favor Sophia over me. I don't know exactly what my next step is, but I do know that I need to talk to my mom again this time with all the facts in front of me, and with a clearer mind. I don't want to let this fester and turn into something irreparable. Eventually, I replied to Sophia, thanking her for reaching out and being so open about everything. I also apologized for my initial reaction, and told her I truly appreciated her offering to help with my wedding. She responded warmly and suggested we meet up in person to talk things through and clear the air. Meanwhile, my phone has been lighting up with text from my mom. She's been messaging me nonstop saying she really wants to talk. Now that I have more of the full story, some of the texts are long and emotional, others are short, and just say things like, "Please call me when you can," or "I just want to fix this." I know I need to respond eventually. At the very least, I owe her an apology for assuming the worst without having all the facts. But even though I understand her side a little better now, I'm still feeling kind of raw about everything. I also keep thinking about Sophia's email and how unexpected it was. She didn't have to reach out, and she definitely didn't have to be as understanding as she was, but she did. She could have just ignored the whole thing and let the tension between me and my mom continue, but instead she put in the effort to clear things up and even offered to help with my wedding. I never imagined us being particularly close. Before all of this, we were just polite to each other at family events, but now I'm wondering if this could be an opportunity to actually build a real relationship with her. It's weird to even consider, but maybe this whole mess could lead to something positive. So now I have to figure out my next steps. Do I fully try to repair things with my mom? Do I accept Sophia's offer and use this as a way to bond with her? I still don't have all the answers, but I do know that I feel a little more clarity than before. I know it's going to take time, but maybe, just maybe, this can all eventually work out in a way that doesn't feel so heavy. I guess the only way to find out is to take things one step at a time and see where it all leads. Update 3. Everything came to a head in the most unexpected way. Last night we had a family dinner. Me, Mark, Mom, Jim, Sophia, and Kevin. I won't lie. The tension was thick from the moment we sat down. It felt like everyone was waiting for someone else to speak first, awkwardly shifting in their seats and making small talk about the menu while avoiding eye contact. The air was heavy, like we were all bracing for a storm that had been brewing for weeks. At first, the conversation stayed surface-level weather work, random things that didn't really matter. But after the appetizers arrived, Jim was the one who finally broke the silence. He let out a deep sigh, ran a hand through his hair, and just said it outright. He had been the one to push for Sophia's extravagant proposal, and he needed to explain why. He admitted that he had been carrying a lot of guilt for missing so much of Sophia's life while she was growing up. His job had always been demanding, and back then he had made the mistake of prioritizing work over family. He told us that for years he had convinced himself that providing financially was enough, but as Sophia got older he realized how much he had missed. School plays, birthdays, milestones that he could never get back. When Kevin approached him about the proposal, Jim saw it as a chance to do something special for his daughter, something that made up for all those lost moments. It wasn't about favoritism. He said it was about redemption hearing that gave me a lot to think about. I had spent so much time feeling angry, feeling like my mom had replaced me, but I never really considered what Jim was going through. I never thought about how his own guilt might have played a role in all of this. Then my mom spoke, and what she said completely changed my perspective. She told me that despite what she had said before, she had actually been setting aside small amounts of money every month to help with my wedding. She had wanted it to be a surprise, a gift she could give me when the time was right, but after everything blew up between us, she realized that keeping it a secret, it only made things worse. That hit me hard. If she had just told me from the beginning, maybe none of this would have happened. Maybe I wouldn't have felt so abandoned. But at the same time, I could see that she truly had good intentions. She just went about it in the wrong way. And then came the biggest shock of the night. Sophia and Kevin made an announcement that completely caught me off guard. They were going to postpone their wedding planning until after mine. I just sat there stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Sophia explained that she didn't want her engagement or wedding prep to take away from my big day. She wanted me to have my moment, and she was willing to wait so that I could have it. I told her she didn't have to do that there were no hard feelings anymore, but she insisted. She said she knew how much this wedding meant to me, and she genuinely wanted to support me. She even offered to share her photographer's services at a discounted rate since they were now booking both weddings. That gesture alone nearly brought me to tears after everything we had been through. I never expected this level of kindness from her. At that point, my mom completely broke down. Through her tears, she admitted something that none of us had known. She had been seeing a therapist. She said she had been struggling with guilt over the divorce and the fear of failing as a mother again in this new blended family. She confessed that she had been terrified of rejection, and that's why she sometimes overcompensated with Sophia. She said she took my love for granted because in her mind I would always be there because I was her daughter, and our bond felt unshakable to her. That was a gut punch. I had spent so long believing that she had chosen Sophia over me, when in reality, she was just scared. Scared of losing the new life she had built. Scared of repeating past mistakes. Scared that if she didn't give her all to this new family, she would be left with nothing. And while that didn't excuse how she had made me feel, it did explain a lot. We ended up staying at the restaurant until closing. Just talking for the first time in years, we had an open, honest conversation. No avoiding tough topics, no brushing things under the rug. There were tears, apologies, and even moments of laughter. It was messy and emotional, but it was also healing. Mark and Kevin, who had never really interacted much before, ended up bonding over their shared experiences with complicated family dynamics. They talked about the challenges of navigating relationships, the pressures of balancing old and new family ties, and how difficult it can be to feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells. And meanwhile, Jim, who had been so defensive at first, sincerely apologized. He admitted that he could have handled things differently, and that he regretted letting it escalate the way it did. Then this morning I woke up to something that completely shocked me. Sophia had deleted her original engagement post. In its place, she shared a much more heartfelt announcement, focusing on her and Kevin's love story rather than the extravagant details of the proposal. And on top of that, she had also posted a picture from last night, one of all of us together smiling captioned with something about feeling lucky to have such a wonderful blended family. I wasn't expecting that at all, and it made me realize that she had really been listening. She had heard me, understood where I was coming from, and was making an effort to make things right. As for my mom and me, we made plans to go wedding dress shopping next weekend, just the two of us. No distractions, no tension, just some much-needed mother-daughter time. She's still not in a position to contribute much financially, but honestly, that doesn't even matter anymore. She's offered to help with DIY, decorations, planning, and all the little details, and that means just as much, if not more. More than anything, we've both agreed to work on our communication, to stop assuming things about each other, and actually talk about our feelings before they turn into resentment. I now realize that I've learned some really tough but valuable lessons through all of this about assumptions, communication, and the complicated reality of blended families. It's easy to jump to conclusions when emotions are high, but sometimes what looks like betrayal on the surface is really just people trying their best in difficult situations. I'm still processing everything, and I know things won't magically be perfect overnight, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. So I guess this is how the story ends, not with the drama I originally imagined, but with understanding growth and stronger relationships. My wedding might not be as extravagant as that cruise proposal, but honestly, that doesn't bother me anymore because, at the end of the day, the best moments in life aren't about how big or flashy they are. They're about the people who stand by you, the lessons you learn, and the love you choose to hold on to.